So, a little over a week ago, I put out a video that showcased some misplays I made during some Legends of Runeterra games, and I talked about what I could have done differently in those scenarios. It was basically a pilot episode of what I was hoping would be the start of a new series of Runeterra videos. At the time, I called it Runeterra Errors, but I asked you guys to come up with a name for the series by leaving that name in the comments section of that video. I also asked that if you couldn't come up with a name yourself, to vote for your favorite name in the comments section via upvote. Well, I tallied up the votes after giving it a week, and the winner by a pretty large margin was the name Runeterrors, which is somewhat ironic to me, because I said in the last video that Runeterrors was one of the other names I originally came up with, but I thought it sounded too much like a League of Legends Halloween special. Regardless, there were a ton of upvotes for it, a few comments saying the name was perfect, and even a few other people that suggested the exact same name. So, the people have spoken. The name of this series will be Runeterrors. There were some other names that got a decent amount of votes though. Legends of Runeterra and Legends of Misplays were the next most popular ones. We even had a small group of people that liked Errors of Runeterra and Misplays of Runeterra, or some variation between the two, among some others I personally liked. That said, this first episode is completely focused on misplays I made during some expedition runs I had. In particular, most of them involve how Katarina works. Future episodes will be more focused on specific decks I've been playing in ranked. Welcome to episode 1 of Runeterrors. Let's hop into it. The first game we'll be looking at is actually at the very end of an expedition run that I uploaded to the channel last week featuring Draven. During this final game, my opponent and I are trying to race each other to a win, and we've both dealt a lot of damage to each other. It's my turn as the attacker on this round, and I've got a lot of potential damage, and my opponent is at 6, but they have a Kinku Lifeblade in play, and I only have 7 mana to work with. I go ahead and open with Legion Drummer, and my opponent responds with Yone Windchaser. Let's listen in and see how I follow up. None of these get past, I mean, we could do Draven and try and get past Yone that way. It's possible. I'm thinking Draven into Brothers Bond into Cat into Spinning Axe and give up Cat. That's what I'm thinking.
It's Draven time. Let's do this.
I'm expecting them to block here.
It is my duty.
Here we go.
Now we're cooking.
So instead of playing Katarina, I decided to play Draven because I thought with Yone hitting the play that Draven would be my only good option to attack with. Katarina was the better option in this exact situation though, but there is possibly an even better play I could have made that I'll mention in a minute. Anyway, I'd forgotten that the second she deals damage, she actually levels up and immediately recalls back to your hand, even if she doesn't actually kill whoever is blocking her. What should have happened after seeing Yone was that I needed to play Katarina and attack with both Katarina and the Legion Saboteur to try and bait a block from Kinko Lifeblade. Now, granted, I didn't have lethal damage with that play. I'd be off by 1 damage since I wouldn't have Spinning Axe in hand. And if they didn't take the block, I still would have lost the game even if I played Katarina since I didn't have enough mana to play her again. Now, you could argue that I shouldn't have even played Legion Drummer in the first place. A possibly even better line would be to immediately attack with Saboteur and Reckless Trefarian before playing anything else. Lifeblade would likely block the Trefarian, then I could Brothers Bond in response, putting my opponent at 4, and then play Legion Drummer afterwards to see if they had another play before finally dropping Katarina for a second attack to go for lethal. Now, Yone would stop the lethal regardless, but then they wouldn't have lethal in the air with Lifeblade anymore either. The short answer to all of this is that I needed to try and get rid of the Lifeblade during combat by bluffing lethal somehow, so my opponent couldn't lethal me back. This next example is from a game I played in a later expedition run. It's late game and my opponent top decks Katarina. I have no removal for Katarina, and my opponent has plenty of mana to attack with her twice on every single round. It gets to the point where I'm at 3 health and my opponent swings in again with Katarina and a Treferian Hopeful. Let's listen in and see how I respond. Yeah, now we back to back. I think.
Why even try?
Or I guess it doesn't matter. Because here's the thing. If I let both of these die, I only have 1 unit to back and I don't have lethal anyway. Either way, I have to top deck pump. So like leaving this alive might actually just be better. Because then at least I have 2 units to work with. And they're tapped out. They're not going to play Cat again. While it's true that I would have been dead since I top decked on guard, it was actually correct to save the back-to-back, and there's a few reasons for this. This situation is all about not just knowing what all of your outs are, but knowing what your odds are to draw those outs. While Katarina can generate an attack token for the defending player in order to make an attack, quick attack doesn't work while Katarina is blocking. Something I really should have known because I played Katarina a lot during the preview patch, usually pairing her with Yasuo. So knowing this, my plan should have been to let the Yeti Yearling die, save the back-to-back, and hope to top deck another unit instead of saving my Yeti and hoping to draw the lone riposte I had in my deck. As long as the unit wasn't a 1-drop, I would likely win since Katarina would be forced to block if they decide to play her in response to the unit I would play. While I knew that riposte wasn't out with my plan, saving back-to-back meant any unit I drew that wasn't a 1-drop wasn't out. And the odds to draw the right unit were much, much higher than the odds of drawing the only copy of riposte in my deck. This final example seems like a very simple one, but it's a little more complex than it looks, so I want to see what you guys would have done. So this game is from earlier in the same expedition run that the first example was from. But this is pretty early in the game, and my opponent plays Treferian Hopeful in response to my Draven. Let's listen in quickly and see what I do next. Okay. Well, we actually don't care about that.
Let's boogie.
Boom.
They don't have good blockers. Not for this. Like, our guys trade up against theirs. They don't want to block. I guess I could have went Spinning Axe if I knew they weren't gonna block. Or even like Elixir of Wrath into Spinning Axe. And then discard maybe the other Elixir of Wrath, something like that. But I forgot if they skip, then we don't get a chance to play our combat tricks. We only get a chance to play it if they decide to block. So here my habits from playing Magic the Gathering and Eternal show up once again, and I forgot that in this game, if I decide to attack and my opponent decides to just pass, I don't get another response window to play any additional spells. But like I just said, the situation is a little more complicated than that. Let's say I didn't forget this, and I decide to use some of the burst spells I had in hand. Maybe one of the Elixirs of Wrath, or even both. If I had, the chance of my opponent blocking probably goes up. One other thing to keep in mind though, is that even if I use both Elixirs and the Spinning Axe, I still wouldn't have had lethal damage. So I'll ask you guys, what would you have done in this situation? Just swing and don't commit any of the pump spells? Use one of them? Two of them? Or all three? Let me know in the comments below. And that is it for episode 1 of Runeterrors. If you liked the video and want to see more videos like this, feel free to give it a like below. Again, the next few episodes in this series will focus more on specific decks I've been playing and what possible mistakes could come up from playing them, so that way you can avoid those mistakes if you ever pick up the deck for yourself. So, if you want to guarantee that you don't miss out on those videos as well as anything else I upload, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell below to stay informed. Thanks for taking time out of your day to watch this, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.